Hey y'all, it's Tough Talks with Two Guns Tony on Make It Happen Monday in the rough buff of Western New York. I put on for Christ Jesus for the good of my city. I want to drop some wisdom on you about an experience I just had last week. I was in a contractual agreement with the County of Erie. And in that agreement, it stipulated that I was to expect a certain amount of resources 2 times per month until such time as I would then recertify, and then requalify. Well, let's see about who's requalifying me, who's recertifying me, and why are they doing this? Who's to say how long the blessing of the Lord will make rich? Because he says it adds no sorrow. Now that sounds like sorrow to me. If I have to recertify, requalify, and then I have to be in compliance, and then I better do, and if I do not do, you know how we get those letters, right? Well, here's the wisdom of that story, right? Because it then sounds like rhetoric. Rain is interesting, isn't it? It has the ability to be snow and then ice, and yet still be rain at the same time. Reason being is because we were made like that when Elohim was with wisdom in the beginning and said, let us make man in our likeness and in our image. Oh, what? Yeah. So he has the power to become rain, become snow, become water, become dew, like in the morning when it rests on the lilies in the valleys. Oh, you didn't know? Well, here it is. Let me break it down for you. Rain ain't just those things, although it is multifaceted, manifold. It is removing, get rid of. Just exit, stage left it. All, any, and I mean every immature notion. So stop running around here telling people how grown you are and how in control you want to be. Oh, and that thing, control, here's the problem. There is respect, recognition, care, and compassion. If you are not operating in those things in this love relationship that our Elohim gave us for one another, and then put in us the ability to do exactly what he did with water, rain, snow, ice, and dew, then guess what? You through. You are actually what is doing to yourself. So now we can try to twist the story, but the truth still remains the same. The Lord is God. His name is Jesus. That's why they call him wonderful. That's why they call him mighty. Counselor. Oh, you forgot what we was talking about? Rain. So we said, now we going to remove and get rid of all the foolish notions. Okay? Any and all. And then we going to know that we are not in the spiritual, in the mental, in the psychological, or the emotional, because you're running around here talking about people are in their fields. What are you talking about, honey? Shut your mouth. You sound like a foolish woman. I believe Job said to his wife, after the Lord gave me everything, now that I'm going through a thing, I'm supposed to curse my God and die? For God I live and for God I die. For me to live is Christ. For me to die is gain. Now that was me. I slipped in there a little bit. But the interesting piece, these people say they have to do an investigation about the money, the resources that were already mine. I was entitled to them from the beginning because God said I'm the seed of Abraham and everything. He owns a cattle on 1,000 hills. And if I look to the hills from whence cometh my help, guess what? It come from that same hill where my God owns everything. So now that begs a question, doesn't it? How come they need to launch an investigation about an inside job that they stole the money? The county of Erie took the money and then they hid it under the guise of, oh, you got to recertify. For what? I just told you that your own colleague, co-worker, or cohort, whichever shoe fit, that the resources that I was entitled to have been stolen by you. The same people who, after a global crisis and a medical catastrophe across the globe, we was in the house for a year and a half. You sent a letter, this county, after all of this calamity and corruption and crisis. 2019, we did a special investigation. That's us. Yep, we the county of Erie. We on the case. We determined that you got some food stamps that you weren't entitled to because you was working at ECMC. Isn't that something? Here in the rough buff, on the wild western end of New York State. Yep, I said it before. I put on for Christ Jesus for the good of my city. We got us a problem here, people. President Obama and First Lady Michelle, because that's the last sense we had. And they fought them all the way. The corruption in our systems is really corrupt. Corruption corrupts. Absolutely. Yes, it does. That's the truth. And you know why? Because there's jealousy and envy. And where there is those things, check the book. It is every evil work. And when you are lusting for and longing after things you cannot afford, and you got to steal, rape, rob, and pillage, 400 years of slavery. I read a caption that said the slave would be murdered for reading. Now the new slave is scared to death to read. See how they psychologically raped you along with taking everything that belonged to you? And now they sitting up here telling you, you got to recertify. You got to qualify. You got to be in compliance. With what? For what? To whom? It belonged to me. The kingdom suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. And that be me. Tag on me. I don't have to fear what no man can do unto me. The problem is we are being dishonest. We are not accountable. We have desecrated, please forgive that. But we have totally taken out all that God has said should be. Totally disrespectful. And it's going to cost you, you know. Because time, which is the most precious thing that God gave us when he created it all in the beginning. Remember, you weren't there. How dare you speak against it in the beginning? And you have the nerve to come on the scene when you do, ain't did anything, but you partaking of everything and ain't have sense enough to humble yourself. And then God gave you a wife. God gave you a husband. God gave you children. God gave you grandparents. God gave you great-grandparents. God gave you everything you got. He even gave you the breath in your body. How dare you? You better bow down. I mean now. The day you hear his voice, he said, harden not his heart. And his sheep know his voice. And the voice of a stranger they will not follow. And Peter told me, think it not strange. You know Peter, that old three-faced one that was hiding with the enemy after Christ gave his life? Because he didn't even believe, even though he did see the works. He didn't believe. Even though God told him, listen, you got revelation, brother. You walking around here with power. But you're scared to use it. So you hurt your brother, you hurt your mother, you hurt your wife, you hurt your husband, you hurt your sister, you hurt your neighbor, because you scared to go and take what's yours from the enemies that stole it. You in a war. whether you choose or not. It is real out here, rough in the buff, in the wild western end of New York State. I put on for Christ Jesus for the good of my city. I care more about you, the person, not the money, not the car, the stuff, junk, and the thing. That ain't nothing. That's how they get you. You in debt for everything. How is you in debt after 400 years of bondage? All of your brilliance been used, misused, and abused. That's the problem. See, God said love. He said love. That was number one. That was the first thing. Love, because that's what got you here. Had it not been for the Lord, that's what got you here. That was number one. And then he said, but me though, baby, because it's up between you and I. He said, love me with all your everything. And then love your neighbor. And then who is your neighbor? The one that's doing the same thing you doing. The one that's breathing the same way you breathing. The one that's walking like you walking. Anybody. He'll handle it. Just bring it to him. But mind your business. Be accountable. And you are your brother's keeper. Running around here like a mockingbird, talking that foolishness. Knock it off. The narcissist is the devil. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy, John 10:10. He told you that before. Be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. I'm sending you out among wolves. My sheep know my voice. Stay out of them small areas. Don't let me catch you there. This is Two Guns Tony. Make it happen Monday.